You're tuned into the Writing Community Chat Show, the live streaming YouTube podcast that brings you the stories of authors, screenwriters, and more. Indie or established, this show's for the community, and we invite you to be a part of it. Head to the writingcommunitychatshow.com for more info. The WCCS, together as one, we get it done.
Hello, my name is Chris, and you are watching the Writing Community Chat Show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's Writing Community Chat Show. I'm very excited for tonight's show. There are a few things going on, and I've had a very quick chat with our guest tonight before the show, which was quite a regular occurrence. But there's already been a lot of smiles from my end on this. So I'm hoping this is going to be a very fun show, as well as very informative. Tonight's guest has done many things in his career, and I'm sure we can take a lot of information out of that. And there's going to be a lot of stories as well. Nice to see you in the chat. Brandon, hello. Linda, hello. Anya, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I appreciate your time and effort for the show. And I hope you're all doing very well. Just a thing to note before I get tonight's guest on. By the way, this lovely book sat behind me is tonight's guest's book. According to the Observer, this is very tense and disturbing. And as you all know, on this show, we like tense, we like disturbing and dark stories. So this is going to be very good for us. Crime novel as well. We've had a lot of crime authors on the show, so it's going to be very good. And it was selected as best crime novel of the month by the Times, Sunday Times, Independent, Guardian, Observer, Financial Times, and the Irish Times. So that goes to show that this author has a lot of talent. So we will be asking a lot of questions throughout the show. And if you have any, by all means, put them in the chat and we will get them up on screen, as long as they're appropriate. And of course, at the end of the show, there's a section dedicated to kind of the more silly questions that you can put in there as well. So I'd like to just mention that the Indie Takeover is something that this show created to support indie authors from the writing community, and that has been doing really well since its launch, probably a week ago now, with A.S. Itaski, who was our winning author. People have been visiting the webpage, seeing all about it, listening to the interview with myself and her, and they've been buying her book, which is really supportive, and that's what the whole idea of the Indie Takeover is all about. Now, phase 2, vote 2 is open. So there are 8+ genres available for you to vote for now on the website. And if you vote for the author, the genre, we can then select the author from that genre. So we are already looking into August's author of the month. So there's only 3 votes on there at the moment, which is quite low for this thing. And we need to speed that up so we can get the authors identified as well. So if you choose your favorite author genre, or even the genre that you write in, and if that becomes the winning genre, then we can put you forward as an author for next month's Indie Takeover. So please go to the writingcommunitychatshow.com on the main page and stick a vote in there on Google Docs form on the web page itself, so you don't have to go anywhere else. It's very simple to do. So please go and do that. And who knows, it could be used that here next month, talking about your career and your books, and the writing community can really support you instead next month instead of our author this month. So it started really well, and bear in mind, this is the very first time that's happened. This is very small on the scale, and it's already having an impact. So imagine what happens to this when it snowballs 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months down the line, and we have, say, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 authors and readers from the community supporting that single author. It can be a real big attribute to the community. So please do go and check that out. I'm sure it will be worth it. And yeah, it will be very, very, I'm sure it will be worth it. I'll put that out there. Okay, so let's get tonight's guest on, because I'm very excited about this, and there's going to be lots to talk about. Let me introduce. So tonight's guest is a Nigerian clinical psychologist. So I'll be interested to find out exactly what that is. Lawyer, essayist, poet, and author. Already ticked many boxes there. He has spent the last 20 years working in advertising, as being the writer of several TV shows aired on primetime. He graduated with a crime fiction MA, and his debut novel, up there, was the winner of a 2019 UEA Crime Writing Prize, and it was longlisted for the CWA Gold Dagger Award, which is just outstanding. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Femi Kayode. Femi, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Chris. It's way past my bedtime, but I'm
Is
here.
it past your bedtime? Thank you for joining me and staying up late, if that's the case. How are you doing, Femi?
So so I'm way in Namibia, and I think I'm about an hour away from you. And typically, I'm in bed by 9 p.m.
Okay.
And then I wake up at 3 a.m. kindish to work.
Wow.
And then I go gymming and working out. And then by 7 o'clock, I'm at the office, my day job. And then by 5, 6, I'm back home. Husband, father, dog trainer.
What a day. That's incredible. And you get up at 3 o'clock, did you say?
Yeah, I do get up. My alarm is set at 3:30, but I tend to wake up just before that.
Wow. There you go. This schedule is amazing and ambitious. Yeah, of course, but also must be very tiring. So I appreciate the fact you're staying awake for this show tonight.
No, it's a privilege. I'm very excited. We had a pre broadcast session, and the two of us really just got it going. But yes, it's tiring, but it's something I've done for a very, very long time, so I'm very used to it. Kind of thing. I don't feel as if it's my life. It's what I do, and so I enjoy it.
And something I talked to you about before the show started, that I'm currently sat in Wales in the UK, and being 20 degrees at this time of night for me is making me hot and sweaty. However, you're sat by a fire with a scarf on.
I know. It's the weirdest thing ever, but I'm very proud of my fireplace.
It's beautiful.
I love my fireplace. I just gets everything going. You just have to be careful because my teenage son can come down anytime and the dogs can walk in anytime. So let's just keep that in mind.
That's extra entertainment for this show. That's all good. That's all good. Oh, brilliant.
Good.
So Femi, apart from all the obvious chit chat we're just about doing there, is everything good in your life at the moment? Is Femi good at the moment?
Femi's in a good place. Femi's in a good place. It wasn't always good, When Lightseekers was published, it was during the corona. I couldn't travel. Even as I'm speaking with you right now, I'm waiting for my visa to come to the UK to do some signings and some author events, and I still can't get my visa. But I'm in a good place because finally I can actually say I'm a writer. I really am a writer. I'm an author, and I'm very excited about it, and that excites, I don't know. So just about 3 hours earlier before this conversation, my publisher sent me the cover for the sequel to Lightseekers. And it's just so effing beautiful.
Well,
it's so beautiful.
I was going to talk about this down the line because I'm going to do it now. We just mentioned covers, right? Because as you see in the top left of the screen, there's the Lightseekers paperback version that was released in July this year. And behind me is the hardback cover, which was released, I think, earlier on in the year. So you've got this hardback cover that looks moody, rainy, dark. It's got dark road, it's got dark clouds. And then you've got the paperback version that's got blue sky, and it looks kind of summerish. And is that like a conscious thing that you were aware of? And did you have any decision towards that? Because I'm quite, I'm baffled by that.
Well, you know what? The one thing that you have to understand as we're talking in the writers community is that the publishers know their market. They really, really do know their market. And if you take the US version, and you take the UK version, and you take the German version, and you take the French version, they are all extremely different. Even I myself, I'm shocked, as to how they interpret the story, and you just have to trust, you really just have to trust, because it's really just, you just have this baby and you throw it into the world, and different versions or different interpretations of the same baby is exhibited into the world and thrown out into the world, and you just have to trust. The only thing I can say is that I love all the covers. I mean, I love the dark, broody one, and it was my screensaver for a very long time, And then this one comes out, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty bright and optimistic for a very dark story.
Yeah.
But that's also very nice because, it's, they understand their market, And I must say, with all due respect, that the paperback version, the paperback version speaks to me a lot more.
Yeah.
Because it's a very, as dark as the story is, it's a very optimistic story. And that light and the brightness really, really just speaks to me on many levels.
Yeah,
but I didn't know this beforehand. Yeah.
Femi, is your microphone attached to your wire?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
It's just rubbing on your t-shirt or your jumper, so try and keep it off there a little bit if that's okay.
Oh yeah, let's take this off.
It's okay. I mean, if you're cold, keep that on. It's just catching, that's all.
I just like the whole French gigolo thing going on.
Oh, fantastic. So what we're going to do, we're going to jump into round one, which is the road to writing. I'm going to play a little video, and then we're going to find out. I'm going to ask you some questions about kind of how you got to where you are now. As you mentioned, it's kind of, this is your debut now, so there's a journey up to this story. So we're going to find out all about that. So then, Femi, when it comes to writing, there's obviously a few things I mentioned in your career earlier on. An essayist, you've been to university, you write poems, you're an author. Where did that inspiration come from in your life to start writing in kind of any sort of area? At what point did you kind of realize this is something you're into?
That's very interesting. Okay, I should have been prepared for this question. But but no, the reality of the matter is that I'm a very expressive person. I started writing after being an actor on stage. So I was an actor for quite a while on stage. And I just realized that I didn't like taking directions. I really didn't like it. I was like, no, this can be done differently and all of that kind of thing. And then I read a very interesting novel by a woman called Helen Van Slyke. And it just inspired me. And I remember this was to be about 25, 30 years ago, and it was called A Necessary Woman. It's a very beautiful novel. And I was like, no, I would like to translate this into the Nigerian society. And I wrote my first play, and it was very successful in the university. And I decided that I didn't want to be an actor anymore. I wanted to be a writer. I did try my hand on directing for a while, but I just realized that I was much more comfortable, playing God at the end of the day.
So was the play the first thing you wrote then, or were there stories before that you'd written?
No, I used to write essays. I was quite good at writing essays in high school, the debating club, all of this kind of stuff. But I never thought you could make money from it. I always joke that, the magic of writing ended when I realized that I could be paid for it.
You can make money from writing? I mean,
I didn't know I could make money from writing. I didn't know. I was having so much fun just writing for writing's sake. Poetry, theater, radio plays, everything. And like I said, I started out as an actor, and I really enjoyed acting. But I knew that the actor was not the storyteller. He was the interpreter of the story. And I realized that I really wanted to be the storyteller. I wanted to be at the core of telling the story. that could be interpreted anywhere else. And so, I think, I really found my forte in writing and I think my dad, both my parents were teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that while I was in high school, I had to write 3 essays every week. One for my dad, one for my English teacher, and one for whoever was interested in hearing what I had to say about any point of view. But every week, it was always 3 essays for a whole year of my life, And I still look back on some of those essays and I'm like, okay, what was happening here? Why did you have to do it? This was child abuse.
But in reality, what that has done is prepped you for the world of writing, because anyone that's in the world of writing now, whether they're just starting or they've been doing it 10 years, the realization is that you must get up every day and you must commit to that work every day, pretty much relentlessly for a year at least. And that's something you don't perhaps think about when you first start the journey. You kind of jump into it and think, oh, I'll just write a book. I'm sure other people took that a lot more seriously than I just suggested. But yeah, that's possibly prepared you pretty well. But what I was interested in when you said there that the actors don't really kind of change much about the story. I watched this documentary once, or a very small clip anyway, about Jack Nicholson. And when he was doing The Departed, how he took very few lines and then adapted that and expanded on it as the actor. And I mean, is that something you were aware of? Because when you said, you kind of wanted to do differently to that, I mean, that kind of sounded like some actors do that in real life as well.
I have a huge respect for actors, really huge respect for actors. I never watch a single movie without the subtitles.
Okay.
I love the subtitles. And my favorite movie of all time, when you watch the subtitles, is The Scent of a Woman with Al Pacino.
Okay.
And you can see from the subtitles that this is an absolutely amazing actor that is interpreting this really banal, inane lines in such profound manner, So I don't think that I'm not saying that the actor is not, the point is that the actor is not the source of the story. It's an interpreter of the story. And I wasn't interested in interpreting the story. I was interested in being the source.
Yeah.
I admired every interpretation of Shakespeare's plays. Hamlet, Macbeth is one of my favorite plays of all time. It's been interpreted in every possible way, or Romeo and Juliet. But it's based on Shakespeare. It's based on that source. And in an arrogant and egoistical point of view, I wanted to be in that position of power. And I think that's what the writer has. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like that idea. And it's very much, it is, especially when you're looking at a play, because when you're writing a novel, you're very much directed at a story that's in your head for one reader in your mind, as I kind of see it. But when you're writing a play, for example, you're like the puppet master. So you're controlling all of these people and their actions as well as their dialogue.
I think that's exactly it. You get your point. And I think I got to it very early on in my career as a writer, that I am responsible for what I put on paper, but I'm not responsible for how you interpret it.
Interesting.
I'm responsible for what I put on paper, the words that I put on paper, but I'm not responsible for your intention or for your interpretation of it. And that is the ultimate power, because that's what spreads out into the world. And that's what Shakespeare is so great at. That's why we have a Japanese interpretation of Macbeth. That's why we have a Chinese interpretation. That's why we have a Nigerian interpretation. And I wanted egoistically to be in that position of power, to put my words on paper and release it into the world for it to be interpreted the way they see it, and the way humanity, as it relates to our reality, post-COVID, pre-COVID, or whatever you call it, What does Macbeth mean in a post-pandemic world? What does Macbeth mean in a pre-COVID world? What does Macbeth mean in a genocidal world? What exactly does Macbeth mean if we were staging it in Ukraine right now? No, that doesn't matter to Shakespeare right now. It's done the play. It's gone. It's not around right now. But the sheer idea that we're connected by storytelling. Storytelling is the most fundamental connector of humanity, and Shakespeare proves it, at least in the English language. Maybe Franz Kafka, would be second in line. But for me, I really wanted, I'm ashamed to say this, I really wanted that power, in a sense.
I just want to ask a question then, based on kind of your experiences within, working as writing essays, or being a lawyer, a poet, working in television, all these different avenues, and going to obviously university. Do you feel like your experiences in the world, or the world when it comes to the creativeness in the real world as opposed to the academic world, do you feel like one has a stronger connection over the other when it comes to your writing ability, or do you think they both play into that ability?
That's a difficult one. I read a lot of things that says to be a good writer, you have to read a lot. I read a lot of things that to talk about Black experience, you have to be Black. I read about, if you want to talk about the Ukrainian war, you have to be Ukrainian. That's not what fiction is about. Fiction is about creating worlds, and fiction is about empathy. Fiction is about compassion. Fiction is about humanity as its most basic sense. A mother that loses a child in Lisbon is a mother that loses a child in Moscow. It's a mother that loses a child in, Alaska or Somalia. And for me, I don't know, there's a lot of argument about that, in terms of appropriation of culture, appropriation of ideas and all of those things. But for me, being a writer is about putting all your experiences, your studies, your values and all of that. And then all of that comes into play. I learned a lot from reading reviews of my book on Goodreads, whereby quite a number of people, I'm a masochist, I promised you. So I go to Goodreads, then I read all of these comments. And what is most fascinating to me is how a lot of people think that the ideas of my protagonist or the comments of my protagonist are my point of view. And that is so fascinating, because maybe in a way that's true. Because in a sense, we're putting all of our experiences into that story, and we're creating a world. But what fiction writers really do is to create. We create from nothing. And that is what we are. We are creative people. We are creators. And we are envisioning a world that is better than the one that we're living in right now. And that is really what fiction writers are. That's what artists are at the end of the day. So all of those things that you said I've done, studying clinical psychology, I didn't study law, but I did dabble in law. Public health, advertising, and all of those things. All of that is completing me, and I put that into the story that I'm telling. I cannot divorce myself or my experiences from those stories. And that is what I think is the responsibility of the artist, because we're talking to a writers community right now. Be authentic. Tell your authentic story. Don't pretend that you understand what the Mexican indigenous story is because it's just interesting. Tell your authentic story. And that's it. That's all that's required of you. How it will be interpreted, it's not Shakespeare's issue. It's dead. It's gone. But your story is going to live long after you. And because of that, you have to be authentic and you have to be real. And you have to tell the story of the world that you envision and the world that you want to leave for your children and for the next generation. And that is what makes the fiction writer extremely special, because you're a prophet, you're an evangelist, and you have to take it seriously. You really have to take it seriously. I'm so passionate about that. You're an evangelist. You are leaving behind a world that is better than the one that you found or the one that you're writing about. And you cannot under any circumstances take that responsibility frivolously. You just have to take the bull by the horns. Don't worry about Twitter. Don't worry about the people that will say you're a misogynist. Oh, you're not saying that's whatever. You just want to make sure that the end game is that you leave the reader with a vision of a world that is better than the one that they are living right now. And that is the function of the fiction writer.
Fantastic. That's a great way to look at it. And I really like to hear that. It's very interesting to hear it from that point of view, because a lot of people will put work out there that they feel they've written the story that they kind of want to hear. And perhaps it could be very much away from the world that they're in, if that makes sense. Science fiction, for example. But it's a great way to leave a mark. And I'm surprised when you said you read reviews on Goodreads, because Goodreads is a brutal place to go and read things. Yeah, I've seen a lot of negative things on Goodreads. I'm not sure about yourself, but
because I've seen so many negative things. But you know what, you take it, you roll with it. If you're sincere about yourself and what you want to put out there. I go to Goodreads every day, every single day, and my ratings go up and down, but my values stay constant.
Yes.
And that's how you know that you're telling the story that you want to tell. That's how you know. Now, I mean, the only ones I have an issue with is people that say this is bad writing. I'm like, ooh, I have an issue there. So when people say this is a bad story, I'm like, I don't like this character. The character said this and this and this. Watch out, listen, because there are some subliminal things that the readers are reading and you're not aware of. I wasn't aware, for instance, that some characters in this novel that's right behind you made some misogynistic remarks. But that's also who they are. And it's very interesting that you started out this conversation with Jack Nicholson and The Departed, for instance. Oh, come on. There were some hateful remarks. I can't even imagine how Jack Nicholson slept at night after every day of shooting. Some of the remarks, some of the commentaries that he made on racism, but anyone that knows Jack Nicholson, the person, can tell you this is not Jack Nicholson. This is a character.
Yeah.
So I had a problem on Goodreads when my characters said some things that were contrary to my core beliefs. But those characters needed to say those things to push the story forward, to push a point across, So I had a problem with that. But when I was able to make peace with the fact that there will be some readers that don't get it and there will be some readers that get it, I was able to just read through it and just make peace with it and apply it to my next reading or my next writing. And it's been a very informative thing, and it's very humbling, I must say, extremely humbling.
Amazing. Right, what we're going to do, we're halfway through, and we're going to play part 2 of the show, which is What's the Story? So after this little video, we're going to find out all about Lightseekers, and we're going to ask some questions about Lightseekers. In fact, I have got some reviews I'm going to read about and ask you questions on. Don't worry, they're nice. They're nice ones.
Yes, only the good reviews.
Yeah.
Okay.
So part 2 of the story, guys. So Femi, please tell everybody, what is Lightseekers all about?
Somebody once said that a writer is the one that can tell 100,000 word story, but cannot summarize it in 100 sentences. But Lightseekers is a story about a psychologist's investigation into the necklace killing of 3 undergraduates in a fictitious town in Nigeria. And I really just wanted to use it to analyze mob mentality. I also wanted to juxtapose it with the idea of racism, the idea that, white is different from black. And my protagonist did his PhD studies in mob violence and hangings and, in the United States, especially in Mississippi, about how Black people were hanged, and try to juxtapose it with what was happening with this case that he has been presented with. So Lightseekers is not about who did it. We knew from the very beginning who did it. It was on social media. Everybody could see it. But the real issue is why? What could make a community, a group of people come together and kill a fellow human being, a living, breathing fellow human being? Not white, not Asian, not Indian. One that looks exactly like you. What would make you do it? And it was a journey for me also as a writer, because it allowed me to also investigate and look beneath the surface, because this was actually based on a real life story about 4 undergraduates, may they rest in peace, that were necklaced in a university town in Nigeria. And I just couldn't sleep for a very long time, just asking the questions that my protagonist was asking in the story. Why? How did we get here? How bad could things have gotten that we would get here? So Lightseekers is really just about that, seeking light, seeking knowledge. Because if we understand, self-awareness is 50% of the diagnosis and the cure, in a sense. So that's why it's called Lightseekers, and the series is all about light, finding knowledge through it all. And like I said, my publisher just sent me a cover for the sequel, and it's called Gaslight, and it's just absolutely brilliant to me, because it's all about light, finding knowledge, finding understanding. Because I think when we understand why human beings do what we do, irrespective of our race, irrespective of our, upbringing or whatever, we are far more enlightened than when we capture the culprit. When we say, you're the one who did it. You're the one. We got it. And this is the evidence. This is the evidence. This man. But when we understand why a society can create such a human being, then we are much further ahead. We're much more sophisticated than animals.
Fantastic. When you mentioned earlier that it's the story of hope and enlightenment, it kind of makes sense the way you've described it now, because some of the reviews mention how this starts off quite violently. And obviously you mentioned there it sets the scene, and then obviously you find out, the story's set immediately and starts off quite violent, but then it's the journey to the light, which is what this story is all about. Did you know when you were writing this, when you first put pen to paper or started typing, that this would become a series?
Oh, no. I have to admit, that was a cold and calculating attempt on my part. I wanted it to be a series. Okay. I did want it to be a series. I always knew it was going to be a series. I planned it as a series, and I promise you I have at least 10 stories.
Wow.
Because in an earlier life, I used to work on a soap opera. And if we're talking to a writing community, I can't see you guys right now. I'm just telling you guys, if you ever get the opportunity to be part of the writing room of a soap opera, jump at it for free. Because it is the most amazing experience for a writer that you can ever have. Because it really allows you to walk within what you call a brand world, a story world, a consistency. You come in, if you ever get the opportunity to be part of the writers team of EastEnders, wow, you're dealing with something. You're dealing with a storyline that's been going on for like half a century. And you have to deal with it and you have to deliver. It's creativity on demand kind of thing. So I always planned Lightseekers as a series. And I created a character that I felt, even in his age, it needed to, even when Lightseekers started, it needed to start slightly earlier. So I read things like how Lee Child started the Jack Reacher story and what he regrets or what he doesn't regret. And I say to myself, no. I wanted to create a character that started just about 5 years before now, so that I can always be ahead of the curve, so I can always see what the trend is going, what's going on in terms of the trend, sociologically, politically, globally, and all of those kind of things. So it was always intended to be a series. And I think that I think when I look at Gaslight and I look at the next story and the next story that I've already planned, it was always part of it. But that was always informed by my numerous experiences working on TV series, that always had the seasons and, story arcs and all of that going on. So for us in the writers community, if you ever get the opportunity to be part of a story lining team in a TV series, please just grab it. It's a wonderful experience for free. Just do it for free. Be an intern. It's awesome.
It does sound fantastic. And I love that concept of starting a story 5 years down the line, because it opens the door up to so many things, and it's quite something you can quite easily oversee when you start writing. You don't think about that until maybe it's too late. But putting that there gives you so many chances to put things in the way before a sequel can come along quite easily as an effect. And of course, you can put things in after that. So that's a really good tip. Someone came on the show once and said about starting the story at the end, as in working backwards, but starting the entire story 5 years on I think is a wonderful thing to look at, especially in a series, obviously.
It's amazing. Sorry to interrupt you, but you have to think about it. Like I said, I'm in advertising, so I think as a brand. What is the intention of the brand? What's the purpose? Why does the brand exist? Why does Kellogg's exist? It's a conflict. Why does Kellogg's exist? Why does Mars chocolate exist? Why are these powerful brands? Why do they exist? So you need to go backwards as a writing community and think about that, your character, and just say, where's the what is this character's purpose? Not what is this character's end game. Those are two different things. Why does this character exist in the universe? What role what does this character add to the universe? What's the value added? And that is why you might think Mars is just chocolate or Snickers is just chocolate. But when Snickers says, you know what, I give you energy, I give you this, what they're saying is that tomorrow, you know what, guess what? I might just add, I might just add coconut. Or tomorrow I might just add milk or whatever it is that they add to it. Don't worry about the product. Don't worry about the functionality of the product. Worry about my purpose. What purpose do I serve in the universe? And if you attribute that to your character, you're able to create a series whereby the character then grow while they are constantly being true to their purpose at the end of the day. So you can go back and forth. You can do a flashback. You can do something in the 1900s. You can do something in the 3000s. It doesn't matter. As long as the character is consistent to its purpose, that is what makes a series.
Fantastic. That's some great advice there. Okay. One of the reviews that I've got there for this story, Lightseekers.
Oh, God, reviews.
This is a great one. This is on the main page. A standout thriller, a stunning murder mystery. The suspense is expertly handled. That's from The Independent. A standout thriller is what jumps out at me there. The fact that The Independent has said this, they obviously deal with many, many books in many genres. So to say this is a standout thriller, how did that make you feel seeing that? And do you kind of see what they're seeing there in terms of it being a standout? And was that kind of any attempt to you to make it kind of different to the standard thriller?
Whew, Chris. Yeah. Any writer that starts out writing any kind of story, hoping for a standout thriller review, you have lost the plot.
Yeah.
That was very humbling to read. That was very surprising, but that was not the intention. The intention must always be to tell an authentic story.
Okay.
That must always be it. You don't start writing your story to be a bestseller. You don't start out your story to be on the writing community chat show. That's not honest. You start out your story by being authentic to the story and to the characters that you have created. And like I said, to the purpose of the main character that is going to drive the series moving on. So for me, reading standout thriller, I don't know what that means. What does standout thriller means? What does it mean? A suspense story says, you don't know who or why or what happened. And then the writer sort of guides you through the story and makes you understand what really happened. And you're like, oh, I didn't know what happened. Oh, now I get it. That was clever, kind of thing. But a standout thriller, what is a standout thriller? What does that mean? I don't know what it means. There's no formula for that.
Yeah.
One of my favorite, and again, we're talking to the writing community here. My favorite feedback that I ever got about writing is by Neil Gaiman, who is one of my favorite writers. You guys know Neil Gaiman. And somebody says, how do you write a story? And Neil Gaiman sort of answered and said, you write the story you write the full story as it comes to you. And then you rewrite it as if you always knew what was happening all along. And that for me is just what writing is. You discover yourself, you write the full story. It's 500,000 words. It's 500 pages worth. And then you rewrite as if you always knew. And then you play and you manipulate. And then you also have editors. And if you're lucky to have an agent and you're lucky to have a publisher, they will guide you. That's their job. They know. And you have to trust it. So really, at the end of the day, you don't know what a standout anything is. You don't know. What does standout effing mean? It doesn't mean anything. It just means that you have told an authentic, original story that stands out because you're not playing to a formula. You have been authentic. And that is all I wish all our writing community to do. Write a story that is true to your heart at the end of the day. And that will be your ultimate ticket to a standout whatever.
Brilliant. Okay, there's another review I've got for you. This is off Amazon. Okay, it says the story was fascinating. The characters all came alive on the pages, and the ending was unexpected. I have recommended this book to numerous friends and can't wait for the author's next book. Gaslight, obviously. So this is a great 5-star review on Amazon. But what I want to ask, the question based on this, is that the characters all came alive on the pages. In a story that's full of action, darkness, and deception, and all these great kind of things that we like to read. How do you work on characters to be more apparent, if that makes sense, for someone to leave a review like this?
That's the easiest thing ever. Be compassionate and love everyone. Love humanity. I love humanity. I promise you guys, I don't know how many people are listening to us right now, Chris, but I'm living through some of the toughest, darkest times of my life, but I am human. And I recognize that the other person or whoever is human. Write with love, write with compassion. I always say to I teach writing once in a while or give workshops on writing. And I always say, the secret to Hannibal Lecter is that Thomas Harris wrote that character with compassion.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote that character with love. You have to love every character you create. There is no character that walks through your pages that is worth a single sentence in your story that is not deserving of your love. The interpretation is another matter altogether. But you, as the author and the creator, you bring them onto those pages from a place of love and compassion and empathy. And I think that's what this reviewer is saying. Those characters were loved, and I love every single one of them. My favorite character in Lightseekers is the bad guy. Yeah, because I love him. I love him because I know where he's coming from. And everybody goes, it's such a caricature, such a stereotype. No, it's not. It's a composite because he is the very, very example of what the system is. The system was what killed those three boys. The people that killed those three boys were just weapons. But we have to look back and say, what's the system?
Yeah.
So yes, it comes across as a stereotype. It comes across as the caricature, bad guy, whatever. But at the end of the day, that's the system. A broken down system, a schizophrenic system that created and made it possible that three boys, three handsome, good looking, intelligent, smart kids could be burnt alive in full view of the world and no one could do anything. It's not the people that did it that's the problem. It's the system that made it possible. That's what we should be looking at, not who did it. We know who did it.
Okay, fantastic. We need to move on to part 3 of the show, Femi, because we're coming up with
Part 3 already.
Yeah, we've only got just over 10 minutes left, and I don't want to miss out this part. Fun. So, guys, we're going to go into part 3, which is community questions. So this chance for you guys to send questions into Femi and to myself, or to both of us. It can be aimed at any of us. So please have a little think when I play this video. Send in some questions about writing, about acting, about plays, and all these great things that Femi's been involved with. Even psychology and all those great things that you studied. So send them in, and I will ask them very shortly. Part 3 coming up, guys. So, Femi, I'm going to start off with the classic WCCS questions for you when the questions from the audience are coming in. I was going to ask you, if you could change the ending to any story, whether it's TV, film, literature, what ending are we going to change and why?
That's a difficult one. I think I would love to change the ending to Romeo and Juliet.
Okay, interesting.
I really would love to change the ending to Romeo and Juliet.
To a happy ending?
Not necessarily, but they didn't both have to die. They didn't both have to die. I think there's a selfishness to humanity, a self-centeredness to humanity that Romeo and Juliet did not take into consideration. So it ended up being very fairy tale-ish in a sense. Then there is one of my favorite books. It's called Thinner by Stephen King, writing at Richard Bachman, and it's called Thinner. And the ending was so sad, and I remember I sat down for a long time and I cried. It's a long time ago. But the only book in modern literature that I have issues with the ending is A Little Life.
Not read that.
And did you read that book? That was
No.
You have to read that book. It's the saddest book. It's what some people would call trauma porn.
Okay.
And it's trauma porn. And I would have loved to change the ending of that book, because I think that there's a lot of hope for humanity. It's still one of my favorite books of all times, because it's so beautifully and elegantly written. But I would have loved to change the ending to sort of a happier, more hopeful ending.
We got a response to your Romeo and Juliet from Linda. She says, out of Romeo and Juliet, who would be the one to go if you were saving one of them?
Oh, come on. I would go with Juliet. Juliet is she's smarter than Romeo. Okay. Romeo was just so emotional.
Do you think, though, that perhaps that was a writer's way of just ending things a bit more neatly? Because if you're writing that story and one of them stays alive, there's a lot to answer for afterwards as a writer.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I like the series, right? I'm coming from a point of view that's different from, what's the name? The Secret History. Or I love that book. I love the Goldfinch. I love all of those books. They are standalone books, but they leave questions for the reader. But I love the series because it continues, and then it allows the writer to ask questions and then to investigate things. So I'm not approaching Romeo and Juliet as if there's going to be a sequel. I'm just saying, look, I would have loved it to end in a different way. Two beautiful, amazing human beings, just such a waste. It's just so hopeless, I'm sorry, but that's just
you're right. You're right. Absolutely.
Okay. But again, that's why I picked A Little Life. A Little Life. I would have liked the ending to end. I'm a perennially optimistic person. I need to be optimistic. That's why I wake up in the morning. There are a lot of dark things that happen. The Ukraine war, the inflation and all of those kind of things. The role of the fiction writer is to give hope and to say that humanity has a purpose. And we can just kill Romeo and Juliet. Come on, seriously, guys.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, so next question. If you could take any character from the world of fiction, again, opens up to any kind of fictional character, and let's say put that character into one of your stories, what character are you going to put into one of your stories?
Oh, Hannibal Lecter.
Oh, nice.
Hannibal Lecter. Smart, intelligent, understands human nature, manipulates it to his own benefit. Hannibal Lecter is the most complete anti-hero in the history. Maybe if you look at Breaking Bad, maybe on TV. But Hannibal Lecter is a classic anti-hero because he's such a 3D character. Cooks well, appreciates art, kills with the most artistic, most beautiful, the way we would like to kill our worst enemy, kind of thing. Every one of us have pictured killing our enemy. We won't do it. That's what society, that's the boundaries of society, that, common, morality. But Hannibal Lecter is, for me, the most classical anti-hero. And maybe, again, going back to Macbeth, I love Iago. Iago works for me. Iago is just such a classic anti-hero. We understand why he's so jealous, why he's so envious. We understand him, and then maybe Mercutio, Romeo and Juliet. But Iago always does it for me. Iago is the most, and then you take Hannibal Lecter. Those are characters that I will always work with. I still work with them.
Yep. Question from Shahid. Thank you for your question. She says, how did Femi find his first publisher?
Ooh, that is not easy. No.
You can pass on some of these if you like.
No. That's a good one. Don't worry. We're in the writing community. We need to share ideas and we need to be generous. It's very important that we're generous. The best, Shahid, please remember this. If you want to get ahead in the writing game, it's not about how good a writer you are, because we just have to assume that all of us are writers. It's how generous you are. You have to be generous. And so it's not about how I found my publisher, it's about how I found my agent. So I was lucky. I live in Namibia. I'm living in I'm sure half the people listening to me don't even know where Namibia is on the African map. But I live in a very country, 2.5 million people, and I decided that I wanted to write a novel. And you have to be extremely purposeful and intentional, almost businesslike in a sense. My inspiration, please don't judge me, my inspiration was Jeffrey Archer.
Okay.
And I read his story about how he decided that he was going to be a writer. I don't subscribe to his moral values, but I like the idea of this commitment to writing a story. And I studied it. And I went back to school and I decided I was going to choose the most influential academic space that would expose me to the publishing community that I could, because I didn't have that access to it as a writer living in Namibia. So I went to UEA and I was lucky to get an admission. I wrote a book, which was part of my thesis. I had to write it. And then I started looking for an agent. An agent is more important than a publisher. Because if you have an agent that believes in you, that loves your story, that loves your style of writing, that is a more powerful entry than a direct access to the publisher. So I had agents that were interested in me simply because I won the UEA Crime Fiction Award. And so I sent out this, what you call cover letter, to all these agents. And I wrote, I think I wrote something like, inquiry from an award-winning writer. I don't know, whatever, And I remember that I referenced the Little Brown Award, and I said something like reference from Little Brown. And all of them responded. Every single agent responded. So you have to find your niche. You have to find what works for you. You have to find your value added, because you're not really telling a new story. It's just, you have to find what makes you special. You can say, Ukrainian war survivor with a story to tell needs an agent. That can be your title. You can say, Afghanistan, transvestite needs an agent to tell his story or her story. That can be it. But always look for it. That's sort of the marketing side of it. So if you're asking how I found an agent, that is the marketing savvy side of me. It had nothing to do with the story or the novel. It had everything to do with how you present yourself to the outside world that will sell you.
That's amazing. Well, that's a fantastic piece of sorry, still on the solo. Fantastic piece of advice there, because a lot of people would think about that. How to be published? How do I get published? And the agent is the first step. And there are plenty of things out there, like I can't remember the name of the book. The Writer's something, big fat book. It's got a list of agents in there you can look at, and I'm sure online there are plenty of directories to find agents in your genre, first of all, and kind of locally to you as well, if that helps. So just go out there and have a look around, because I'm sure you can find plenty of them. And of course, not all agents will suit you either. Some might work with you. And as Femi said, if they buy into you, they buy into your writing and your style, then it's a magical working relationship. So if you get one, make sure that they're the right one as well. I think that's important. Okay, so Anya says, if you could choose one movie to watch over and over for weeks straight, wow, what would it be?
The Prince of Tides.
What was that?
The Prince of Tides, directed by Barbara Streisand, and written by Pat Conroy. The Prince of Tides is my favorite all-time movie, and my second all-time movie is Eve's Bayou, directed by the most amazing director of all time. Is a woman. It's also the director of photography was also a woman. It was starring Samuel L. Jackson. Please do not get me going on Eve's Bayou, because every wedding anniversary, my wife buys me a copy of Eve's Bayou. And it's 20 years down the line. All the actors in Eve's Bayou are older. Samuel L. Jackson, Johnny Smollett, all the Smollett family. No, you have to watch Eve's Bayou. Look, let me tell you something. The opening of Eve's Bayou says, on the summer I killed my father. My brother was X. My sister was this. And my brother was this. Memory shifts. You have to watch Eve's Bayou if you want to understand character and how memory changes according to how we see the world and how our perspective is. Eve's Bayou is it. So it's The Prince of Tides, directed by Barbara Streisand. She didn't get our flowers for that because it was the best movie of that year with Nick Nolte. Oh God, it was the best movie. And then you have Eve's Bayou, and then after Eve's Bayou, maybe The Departed. Maybe.
I've just put both of those in my search, and I've got both of those in my tabs now, and I am going to watch one of those this weekend. And I will encourage the followers of the show to do the same. We'll have a little bit of a movie night and see if we can get people to watch that. At least one of them. Which one of the two, if we had to choose, Femi, the Eve's Bayou or the Prince of Tides, which one shall we all watch this weekend?
Narrative style. It's the Prince of Tides because of the performances. But I must say, Eve's Bayou is still my all-time favorite movie. But I'm sorry, I'm black. And it's the first movie I ever watched that did not have black gangsters with guns and all of that. They look gorgeous. They speak properly. It was drama at its ultimate. And my favorite actress of all time, Diane Carroll, that was her last performance before she died, unfortunately. And she was in that movie. And you have to watch that movie. And any writer needs to watch Eve's Bayou. It's the ultimate narrative style. Magical realism meets drama in its ultimate cinematic glory.
That sounds like a date this weekend, guys. I will tweet that out and make sure some of you get to watch that with me. Okay, we'll have one more question because we're over.
One more question, only one.
One from the community, and then I've got possibly 3 or 2 more from me.
Time flies when you're having fun.
It does indeed. So, Paul, hello to you. He says, who would you like to see? This was actually a question I had stored earlier, so I'm glad he asked. Who would you like to see play the characters in your book if they were turned into a movie TV? Obviously, you've worked in that industry. Who would be your perfect cast?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm very clear about some things. So first of all, the movie rights for Lightseekers is gone.
Woo.
So they're working on it right now. My condition is that I don't have to write the screenplay because I don't want to work on that. I'm not interested in that. So for Chika, there's a guy in America, I can't remember his real name right now, but he's married to Kerry Washington. He's a Nigerian, and he used to be a basketball player. He's a football player, American football. So not soccer, guys, remember? Not soccer.
Namidi.
Yes. Namdi, something. Oh, yeah. God. The guy is gorgeous. He looks, well, it just looks so much like my Chika in my head. So that works.
Okay.
But I've never been able to decide who would be the protagonist. There is a British actor that I love so much. I love him so much. And I first encountered him in an American movie called Primary Colors. And he was with, I think, John Travolta. I don't know who was with in Primary Colors, but he was in Primary Colors. And recently he was in a series, in a limited series on BBC, but it's so British. But realistically, my lead character is David Oyelowo. So David Oyelowo was the Oscar-nominated actor for the Martin Luther King Ferguson movie. He's British and he's also Nigerian, and he just suits it. You know, I wish he was taller. I wish he was, more sexy. But
he's an actor. He can do that. I mean, look at Tom Cruise. He's like 4 foot and he looks tall.
You need a lot of surgery for that. Yeah. But David Oyelowo would be my lead character because he really suits it and he can be it, and it's so human and it's so relatable and all of that. So David Oyelowo would be my lead character for that. At the end of the day.
Fantastic. Right, I'm going to ask the last couple of questions. I'm going to throw some random ones in there. I've got 3 random ones there. Really random. This is completely off. So give me a number 1, 2, or 3.
A what?
Give me a number 1, 2, or 3.
I was born on August 11th, so I've always liked odd numbers. So I'm going to go 3.
Okay, number 3 is karaoke. What karaoke song would you be singing in the bar if you were going to sing karaoke?
Ah, come on, guys. Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Nice. Okay, so we'll stick to odd numbers. Which would mean
of the Heart.
Yeah, which would mean number 1.
Bonnie Tyler.
Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Absolutely not. That's sacrilege. Come on, seriously. You don't cook fruit.
Well, I like it.
No, I can't deal with it. My kids love pineapple on pizza, but come on, how can you put pineapple? Come on, even the Italians would.
They would hate this. Yeah, of course.
Come on, pineapple on pizza. You don't cook fruit. You eat fruit. You don't cook it, guys. Come on, get with the program. Chris, I hate you right now. I'm off this show. No,
God,
we're not doing it.
That would have been the best exit of an interview I've done that with. Okay, very last question. Let's bring seriousness back just a little bit. Obviously, with Lightseekers, this is your book baby. This is your debut, and Gaslight is coming soon, and you've got ambitions for this to be a great series. If you're looking back on your career way down the line, what would success look like to you?
Success is just, I'm going to be a bit emotional now. Success is just getting everybody in this community to see my world differently from CNN. And just understanding that we're all the same and we're all connected and we all grieve and we all bleed and we all laugh and we all love Laurel and Hardy. and we all, learned from Sesame Street, and we all, and gun skill, and knives, causes bleeding, and at the end of the day, that's all that matters. If I can tell stories that allow us to see each other as one with a fundamental universal sense of community, I think that would be something that's success to me. I think my favorite author is a guy called William Styron, who wrote Sophie's Choice. And Sophie's Choice is one of my ultimate favorite books. And he was white, and he wrote about race. He wrote The Confessions of Nate Turner. And there's a lot of stories around why white people should not write about the Black experience, and why Black people should not write about white experience. I love stories that talk about the human experience.
Yeah.
And that's why we exist. That's why we're fiction writers. That's why we're not documentary makers. We're not documentary makers. We tell lies for a living, and those lies envision a world that we would like to live in. And so for me, success is creating a world that my readers would like to live in.
That is a wonderfully beautiful idea of success, and it's very selfless, and I think it sums up your character throughout this interview. It's been wonderful to speak to you. You've just been a wonderful, charismatic person to be on here. You've got a lot of experience that you shared with us, so I'm very grateful for all of that. Guys, thank you for joining me, tuning in, and listening to Femi's story. Lightseekers is out now on paperback and hardbook and audiobook as well. When can we expect Gaslight, Femi?
I think if I manage to finish the edit,
that old chestnut.
I have notes this long, but but if I manage to finish it, I think we're looking at April for the US release, and we'll be looking at something like July for the UK release. Yeah. Thank you.
And you, of course, will let me know when you are going to head to the UK for some signings and all of those wonderful things.
If you write to the Home Office, if they stop resigning, and finally approve my visa, I will be there next week.
So we'll start a petition on Twitter. We can get this going, I'm sure. Everybody, again, thank you so much for joining me, and go and check out the Indie Takeover on the website, please, and do vote for the next round, because it could be you being the author of the month next month.
Please vote. Please vote. Please, guys, keep writing. Don't give up. I am 51 years old.
No chance.
I am 51 years old, guys. Don't give up on your dreams and keep writing. The only way to be a writer is to write.
I still can't believe you get up at 3 a.m, but that's wow. Guys, thank you so much. We will see you all very soon. Look after yourselves, and of course, be safe. Thank you, everybody. Bye.